And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a game called Jungle Cruise Adventure Game. This is from Disney. That's because there was supposed to be a movie coming out about the Jungle Cruise. And of course, there's the world-famous ride at Disneyland and Disney World. If you've never been on the ride, it is basically a boat that you go on a fake jungle cruise and go around with a tour guide who consistently does very horrible jokes, dad-style jokes, the entire time. It's very memorable, and a lot of people really like the ride, and this game is based on that. I don't think it's based on the movie at all, actually. I think it's based on the ride. You have your own ship that you're taking down the river. You're trying not to let people fall off of this, pick up cargo at the same time, and get to the end. Here's how it plays. In this game, each player is going to have a boat full of passengers. So here, for example, from the blue player, I have the Congo Queen, and I find all the Congo Queen passengers and put them into 4 sections of my boat: center, stern, port, and starboard. So 3 passengers in each. Each of these passengers is part of 1 or more families, and at the end of the game, they're going to be worth points, 5 or 3 points, depending on if they're the caretaker family or not. One of these clues, the one here, shows which family is the caretaker. In this case, it's the Nile family. As the game goes by, whenever you stop at one of these spots, you can look at a clue and see which one is only worth 3 points rather than 5 points. Now, when a player goes, all they're going to do on their turn is they're going to roll a die. That's how far you move. 1, 2, 3. Once you move, let's say I'm the blue player and I move 3 spaces, you then will always draw 4 cards from this deck. Now these cards will have different amounts of danger symbols on them, from 0 to 3. Although occasionally you get an event card, and you always have to do this card. But what's going to happen is you're always going to draw 4 cards. You must resolve cards equal to the number you rolled on the die. I rolled 3, I'll resolve 3 of these. You know what? I think I won't use the water buffalo. I'll do the calm river, which is nothing, the loading dock, and the bathing pool. They show you what area of the boat they damage. These both damage the rear. You read the jokes. If you exit the boat and feel your shoes rapidly filling with water, that means you got out on the wrong side. Ho, ho, ho. You're going to roll an X for a die for each X you have. These dice have exclamation points on 3 of the sides. You roll, and if you roll nothing, you're fine. If you roll an exclamation, then that person will fall out of the boat. They're not dead, they're just like wandering around. If you want to, let's say I'm rolling 3 dice and I roll, a bunch of exclamation points. Each player starts with a warning flare. You can flip that over to stop, to re-roll those dice, and not so bad. Now, where a player stops, something will happen too. If you stop on a normal dot, you get to draw on lost and found. Sometimes it will say something like this: hey, I found a passenger, and I can put a passenger in my boat. Even if it's someone else's passenger, I can pick them up. And there's different things in here that say found passenger. There's also different types of cargo. You'll see there's bananas and supplies and artifacts, cargo you can find. In fact, if you stop at an outpost, not only can you recharge your flare, but you can pick from one of the remaining, there's 3, one of each type of cargo at each of these outposts. If you stop here, you get to look at the clue, like I said. When you get to these points here, you can split which way you go. When you land here at the finish line, you'll take one of these tokens, the highest one, and then each turn after that, you take another token. When all those tokens are gone, the game ends. Players are going to score points for these tokens: 5 points for caretaker family members, 3 points for other family members, points per cargo. If you have 3 different cargo, it's 10 points, while a single cargo is worth only 1 point. You'll add all these together, and whoever has the most points is the winner. The artwork for the game is fine. It's nice, cute little artwork of all different people sitting on the boat. My only problem with these boats is, for some reason, you're supposed to put 3 squares on your boat here, and it just seems weird that they don't have them outlined on the boat, and especially in the stern. Like here in the center, it makes sense. This is a square. This is where the person sits. Here, I don't know. I just found it to be a little, I guess you could put them like this, I suppose. Not a big deal. But that's my only minor quibble about component quality. The boats are nice. The artwork's nice. The jokes are, well, they're the jokes. You're going to love them or hate them. The dice seem to be pretty good quality here. So overall, everything about this game, component-wise, is quite nice. Well, all right. I tend to like many of the games that Prospero Hall puts out, but I really, really dislike this one. Now, I know from the onset that this is a game that's aimed at kids, and happily, that's who I played it with. But there's just so many problems with this game, but they kind of center around one thing. The game's just way too random. It is way too random. And yes, there's the cards with the funny jokes on them, and it says read them all out loud. And we read them all out loud, and you know what? Wow, does that lengthen the game. So that's the first problem with the game. I'll come back to the randomness, is the game's too long. It's just way too long for what it is. You roll a die, you move, you draw 4 cards, you look at the cards, you decide which ones you're going to do, you roll for them, you do this, everyone else is kind of sleeping, then it's the next person's turn. Secondly, randomness. This is essentially a roll and write game. Folks, I thought that this is like a bad mechanism we're leaving behind. You roll a die, that's how far you move. Now, they have this thing in here like, ooh, the farther you move, the more danger cards you have to play. But here's the problem with that. You don't get to choose that. This isn't a, I'm going to move faster, but then I have to play more danger cards, or I'll move slow so I can draw less. No, you just go at whatever the die tells you to. And so people fall off your boat. You pick the cards. You obviously pick the ones that hurt you the least, if possible. You roll dice. You see if people come off or on. There's only a few choices you have in this game that are actual choices. One is, what direction do you go when you get to a fork? Which isn't really a choice. It just means you go slightly longer and maybe look at the clue or not. And looking at the clue doesn't really mean anything because all the people fall off your boat anyway. So, you know, if you pick someone up, yes, I'll pick up someone who's worth 5 points over 3 points, but it's not that big of a deal. So that's one thing, right? There's just that consistent, that's one choice. The other choice is when to use your flair, which is when you roll a lot of exclamation points, and or doesn't matter if you're right before an outpost, so you might as well roll the flair. I was really disappointed by this game. It's just a slog of a roll, move, get resources, roll, move, people fall off the boat, get to pick up loot. Yes, I'm trying to score these points, but I just grab whatever makes sense. I mean, we're talking really basic, but the problem is if you're going for that really basic crowd, there's no excitement in this game, and everyone gets bored of reading the same jokes and having the same people fall overboard over and over and over, and it's really long. It just feels repetitive. Good quality components, great artwork, but that's pretty much all I can say that I like about this game. Other than that, I really, really disliked it. So that's Jungle Cruise Adventure Game. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time. Dice Tower Judgment, too random.